In this video, we're going to review in the example corridors drawing a small percentage of the styles in InstantOn, the framework for AutoCAD Civil 3D. The idea of the example corridors drawing file is twofold. So you can visualize and choose what styles you want to put in your production templates, and then put a subset of even those into your publication templates. In templates only, the drawing is located in the sample folder, and by the way, these days there's also a points file full of example point data that's also included that you can add to this example corridors data to take a look at how the styles and description key sets work in InstantOn. Inside the InstantOn projects, there are two of them in Release 7. There's both the STB and the CTB version. We're going to be looking at the STB version, but they are effectively identical. The example corridors drawing is in the 10 model folder, and the rest of the project obviously includes example drawings and data for every kind of style and every kind of Civil 3D feature that exists in Civil 3D. So you get a good way to take a look at stuff. Let's hop over into AutoCAD Civil 3D. Everything I'm going to show could be true in 2017, which is what I happen to be doing this in. Could be in 16, could be in 15. No real major differences between the styles that are supplied. This example corridors drawing was created to give a good idea of the design capabilities of corridors and all the fundamental styles that are associated with that, which is a lot of Civil 3D, since we're talking about alignments, profiles, profile views, and it goes on and on and on, and they're all interrelated. So this drawing gives you a really good overview of most of the core stuff that's in Civil 3D, and a way to the data is supplied here so that you can visualize and see what those styles look like in a real world environment. This, however, is not a good example of how you would probably use Civil 3D in production. Almost all these alignments, profiles, the corridor itself these days, the surface, everything would be a reference. In this drawing, for simplicity's sake, they're not references, so everything is a live piece of data, which you probably wouldn't want to do in normal considerations. So we could take a look at almost everything. Typically, it's usually a good idea. I usually like to do a plot right away. So one of the things you want to do is make sure it's going to plot, and this capability is built right into the product from the ground up. It's integral that you're actually producing real production work. Things actually plot, look good. We end up with elevations. A couple of little nuances that are built into all the framework. All the existing stuff you can easily identify because it has a slight 11-degree oblique to it. All the proposed stuff is straight up and down. There are really only two textiles, 3 or 4 actually totally in all the entire style library, so it's really easy to change the look and feel, what fonts are, and everything that we do is both NCS and General Services Administration compliant. So now we've seen what a basic plot looks like. Let's take a look at styles for profiles, profile views, and all that sort of thing to start out, and we'll come back and deal with plan stuff. Inside the settings tab, you take a look. So there are indeed point styles for everything. Notice they're both design and survey point styles for everything. A huge raft of description key sets, and an InstantOn above. There are more of these in other libraries to do all kinds of even additional things beyond those, but notice there are both design description key sets and survey description key sets. So surfaces, we'll come back and look at that, but there are tons of those. Alignments, all lots and lots of core alignment styles, and you'll see things like utility lines for all the classic utilities, easements for all the properties, all that kind of stuff. So you really don't have to make a lot of stuff, which is the whole point. For label styles, all that stuff is also replicated, so you'll see that they're property alignment styles, property alignment utility styles so that you can mark things like existing utility lines, gas lines, and all that without having to use line types at all. You can just do all that with group labels inside of Civil 3D. Let's take a look at profile views. We'll hop over to the Prospector tab, and I'll try to remember to hop around inside the tool space and find our core alignment, which happens to be this one. We have a profile view, and we're just going to zoom to it. As you can see, this is a real generic and plain version. We'll just grab it on the screen. In this case, take a look at what our view properties are and take a look at the huge list of profile view styles. So everything is built in right out of the box, so we're just gonna hop to full in. So grids, major labels at 10 times and hit apply. Completely changes what a profile view looks like. Let's just keep grabbing it. You can also, of course, apply those from properties box these days. Here's one with clipped in grids with majors. Just about every configuration that you can imagine is built in. And of course, just do a quick plot. Once again, we're in STB preview. We get a good shot. The grids are automatically screened down for us. Labels get screened correctly, so the existing stuff is screened down and oblique. The proposed stuff is all straight up and down, and if we were on the survey configuration, we'd simply just change a layer state and get the boundaries with all. The grid in itself would all still plot properly, only the labels will flip and the surfaces themselves. So all that's built in to that kind of style. For any one of the group labels, we'll just edit the group profile labels, bunch of sets, hundreds of label styles are supplied. We'll pick out one with dim lines. This is a little more advanced version of a design set of profile labels. Vertical curves are labeled. We even support complex vertical curves and label them properly, like asymmetric parabolas and all that kind of stuff, which, if you have the need for, is just built in to the jump kit product. Changing what everything looks like is as easy as changing a set. We can strip the labels off and do all that kind of stuff. Do the existing ones and put a different one on there and import existing ones. Here's a real simple one. For example, just simply shoots labels at a station value and at key grade breaks match to. All the sets are here. Obviously all the sets can be edited, and that's probably going to be something that you'll want to change. Produce a different set. Here are labels attached to the bottom of the grid. We already saw a version of that, and as you can see, our existing stuff is not weeded as much as in other places, so we got a 5-foot weed here. If I make that a 7-foot weed, for example, and hit apply, you'll see the number of labels goes down or up. So that's all tunable. Yes, we of course support staggering and all that sort of stuff. All that kind of subtle detail for production work is built in. We produce in the view itself profile band styles, whole list. So you got cut and fill, all the typical kinds of profile data can be banded, horizontal, vertical, supers, and all that, pipe data, all that can be banded, and all those band styles actually work and function and plot correctly. For now, we're going to skip that, just add hatch and fill just to see how easy this is. And once again, we'll just do a real quick plot, hit the preview, get good screening, the hatches all show, everything still ends up, prints really nicely, and is all obviously configurable if you don't like some of the details, but everything works out of the block and you really don't have to worry about it. So that's a profile view. They are literally in terms of the styles. Let's take a look. And the instant on templates, we'll just hover 113 shipping. Every single one of them is described. It tells you what it does, and this is true for all the styles that we supply. So all you have to do is hover over it. Got a pretty good idea how it works, how it's set up for all that kind of stuff. We'll hop down to section views, take a look, and you'll see there are goodly number of section views in all kinds of different scales and exaggerations, and all kinds of different setups for pages of sections or individual sections, in just about any way you want to deal with it. So we're gonna hop down and go to our section view down here inside the section group and zoom to it. Here's a little section. Once again, code set style probably needs a little bit of tune up, as you can see, for the edge of traveled way, but as you can see, you get hatching, differentiation of surfaces, and all the stuff in the sub-assemblies in this fairly complex full cross section here that we're using in this drawing. And if we plot this, this will of course plot perfectly, look good, show up nice if we do pages of sections. And let's hop over to the pond, and we have a sample line group over there with a section, and zoom to that one, and this is just a cross section across the pond. Completely different. Notice there's a completely different set of labels. They'll plot properly, existing and proposed. Labels resolve properly, all plot properly. Notice the existing surface is screened down, and these conventions are supported, they're integrated. Really makes all the stuff meaningless. If I don't like the look and feel of the profile of the section view here, I simply pick another one. If I want a different exaggeration, I simply pick another one. That gives you a pretty good idea of those basic kinds of styles for the major fundamental publication stuff. And we'll take a little bit deeper look at what's going on with our plan view here. You noticed in our plot earlier that everything automatically screens, so we supply lots of code set styles to change the look and the feel of the stuff in plan, in section, and in the section views, and in the corridor editor. Speaking of that, let's hop up and see what's going on in this version. Here we got our cross sections being applied. Here's the profile. Here's the plan view. We'll hop down, and you can see this, the visualization in the core editing tools are all built in, works real well. You can see the labels, you understand what they are. If you want to make them larger or smaller, that's pretty easy to change in the code set style that does them. We'll hop down and take a look at what's going on. We're in a curve, but as you can see, there's no supers. If we took a look at our surface, right now it has the corridors. Let's take one with slope arrows. So it's going to compute the generalized slope of what's going on the roadway. As you can see, the proper super is not really applied to these drawings. As you can see, stuff is running down into the crown and all that sort of stuff. So we need to find our alignment, and we're just going to select our alignment and recalculate the supers. And I'm just going to run the wizard. I'm going to redo it. So whatever it was done was wrong. As you can see, it was undivided crown. We have a divided crown with a couple of medians. Lane widths are fine. It is a symmetric roadway, and like to complete those. We're doing some makeovers. We're not going to go into the design conventions. Need to make sure that we pick the latest and greatest roadway standard file, and run out our supers. May not be perfect, but it will give us a pretty close idea of things. And now all we need to do is go down, find our corridor, it's called linear features, rebuild it so the surface gets rebuilt, and now we can visualize, we can see from the slopes where the corridors, in the corridor, everything that's going on, it all looks reasonable, looks good. Now when I pick the corridor, once again I want to pick the corridor, not the surface. Pick the corridor, go to the section editor, and we'll go to down to where those supers were going on. So now we got a super. We'll be coming out of the super, flattening out, going into the next super as we leave the spiral. Since this is a fairly complex roadway design, we can see we're generating all the stuff, can see what's going on, edit and change all the stuff, which is exactly the point. In terms of the corridor, let's change that surface and change that surface back to regular old contours. Let's take a look at different ways that we can deal with the corridor itself. As we said, we have lots of code set styles, all the core stuff that you need to do the work. We're just going to go to feature lines only, apply that to our corridor. Now we're just generating the feature line work, which is great for feature line output or alignments out from our corridor design to make another corridor from, which you can do in 16 and 17 very easily these days. We can make really complex corridors that relate to other corridors now, and so those styles are just built in and supported, and of course they're editable and changeable, but they are functional, and all the styles work, plot right, all that sort of stuff, and that's just built right in. We'll go back to a simple top height as well. Take a look at so this is just going to hide the surface, and we're going to zoom out again, and once again we're going to plot and get a slightly different look and feel. This just makes everything without screening. We use variable screening in some, so we're not using variable screening here. A complete white screen, so the surface all shows up. We see the difference between the existing and the proposed. It all plots, turns out right. Not anything to spend hours worrying about what your deliverable has to look like. And over in our pond, that's what we're doing here. You'll notice we're using alignment group label that's actually using reference styles, so it's referring to two separate surfaces, our design and our proposed. We're using masks here, so I can see that these are just my check labels, so to speak. I'm probably not going to plot them this way. They're not my publication. They're the idea of a QA style, so I can make sure that I've got design lining up well with the existing conditions and producing what I want. Once again, this same thing all applies. You'll see we have another design alignment. You'll see that alignment is being controlled by a widening and a width. So this is actually a corridor that goes like a snake eating its tail. There's a nonlinear corridors video that goes over how this is built and all those kind of mechanics. Let's take a look at some new surface styles that are built. Now that we've got our Superelevation design, we'd probably maybe want to do cut and fill contours for our corridor design. So we're going to go over to the Analyze tab, create a new volume surface, and we're just going to call this volume 1, and we're going to give it another one of our built-in QA. So this is going to do 1 and 5s with differential cut and fill built into it. Our base surface is our existing surface. Our comparison surface is going to be linear features that will create and build and run the analysis, and you'll see there are my cut and fills. Probably, since it is a surface and an analytical style, I probably want to change it. I do want to use the datum. We're going to use ones. I'm going to run them back out so I get cut and fill in shades of red and green. Hit apply, say OK, and we can see where our cut's happening, where our fill is happening across the entire roadway, and generate those contours. And of course, you even get the label sets to generate the labels if that's really what you need to do and need to deliver. But the purpose of the styles here are to help you understand what is really going on, what you're really doing with your design project. We can simply get rid of our new surface that we just built. Don't really need that. That's something I want to keep around. All that just took a minute. In terms of core surfaces themselves, we've added, for both parcels and surfaces, we've added a whole raft. We'll hop over here, and we've added a whole bunch of really useful thematic versions of contours and points and triangles to the surfaces collection. So if I want my existing contours, or I need a surface to be shades of green triangles, so I can exactly tell where that surface is different from another one. And then I need my surface to also be expressed as triangles. I can pick those as purples, so I can easily differentiate between multiple surfaces, which is something that happens when you start designing lots with corridors. You end up with multiple surfaces, and where's this one and where's that one. These sort of QA tools are extremely useful and help you get more productive inside of Civil 3D. So inside the framework, we go on and on for literally hours and hours covering every single feature in this kind of detail, but that gives you a pretty good idea of the kind of depth of style tools that are available in the framework for Civil 3D.